The child's body was discovered along a remote road near the Maine-New Hampshire border Saturday. However, his mother has been charged in New Hampshire because that's where authorities believe the boy named Camden was murdered.
Welcome back. I'm Cassie, and this is Wicked World. The story I have for you today is one about a seemingly loving mother who one day just snapped. And it was only thanks to a watchful and concerned citizen that she was punished for her crime. This is the story of Camden Hughes. Camden Pierce Hughes was born on March 15, 2005, in Dallas, Texas, to Julianne McCreary. It's unclear exactly who Camden's father is. However, his brother Ian, who was 18 years older than him and in the Navy, acted like a father figure towards Camden. He also enjoyed football, and his favorite teams were the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots. He attended W.T. Haynes Elementary School and was enrolled in the Gifted and Talented program. Camden loved to play the guitar and play sports with his brother. He loved to read and draw, and Camden was great at solving math problems, even at his young age of 6. On May 14, 2011, around 7:30 a.m., a woman named Lisa Gove was driving to her in-laws' house in South Berwick, Maine. As she was making her way down a remote road called Dennett Road, she suddenly noticed a navy blue pickup truck pulled off to the side. The truck had its doors opened and bore a Navy insignia. As Lisa passed the truck, she looked into her rearview mirror, and she saw a woman with dark hair pulled back into a ponytail who was emerging from the woods. But after she arrived at her in-laws' house, Lisa still had an uneasy feeling about the truck that she had seen off the side of the road. So she and her in-laws had gone back to the spot to investigate. And when they did, they would discover, under a green blanket 30 feet away from the road, the body of a little boy. This little boy had blonde hair and blue eyes, and he was wearing a gray camouflage hoodie, but police had no idea who he was. So for days after the body was found, investigators asked for the public's help in identifying the child. And they released a computer-generated image of what he might have looked like while he was alive. Additionally, police asked the public to keep an eye out for the navy blue Toyota Tacoma that had been seen off the side of the road. Now, while police were trying to identify the boy, as well as find their suspect, an autopsy was performed on the child's body. He had red blotches around his eyes and a bruise on his cheek. It was determined that he had died from asphyxiation, and the manner of death was homicide. Even after the autopsy, the child's body remained unidentified for a few more days. That's until May 17th. When the boy was finally identified as Camden Hughes from Irving, Texas. So, what was he doing all the way up in Maine? Camden hadn't been identified until a family friend from Texas had called the authorities in Maine after they saw the computer-generated photo that police had distributed nationwide. This family friend also informed police that Camden and his mother, Julianne, may have been recently staying at a hotel in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. Once receiving this tip, investigators from the New Hampshire State Police and the Hampton Police went and spoke with business owners in Hampton Beach to see what other information they could find out about Camden and Julianne and what hotel they had been staying at. The authorities spoke to an owner of a hotel on the Hampton Beach Strip, and they told police that a woman matching Julianne's description had been going around trying to barter for a hotel room for $25. Police were then told that Julianne had actually gone several miles up the road on Route 1 to the Stone Gable Inn, and she had gotten a room there. So investigators went to the hotel and searched for clues for what had happened to Camden and where Julianne had gone. Some of the other guests who had been staying at the motel at the time that Julianne and Camden had spoke with authorities. One guest told police that he believed Julianne had only spent one night at the motel, and when he had seen her, she was disheveled and had very messy hair. Though he claimed that he had never actually seen the little boy who was with her. This hotel guest also told police that at one point he had walked past Julianne's room and he had heard her screaming. He said what was typical of an irate parent, but again, he never saw or heard Camden. This guest also claimed to have said hello to Julianne the following day, and she appeared panicked. Other guests who had stayed at the motel told police that Julianne did not seem like a very nice person, and she had actually been going around asking people for free cigarettes. Then, on the morning of May 18, 2011, a Massachusetts state trooper pulled over a blue Toyota Tacoma pickup truck at a rest area off of I-495 in Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Earlier that same morning, around 10:20 a.m., Massachusetts State Police had received a phone call from a truck driver who had seen the prior coverage of the investigation and had then spotted the truck they were looking for. And when officers pulled over the navy blue pickup truck, they found that it was indeed Julianne McCreary, Camden's mother. She made incriminating statements to police at the time and was taken into custody. Julianne told the state trooper that she had killed her son Camden, and she had been contemplating killing herself as well. The pickup truck was taken to the state police barracks in Danvers for processing, and Julianne was taken to a local hospital for a mental health evaluation. Following this evaluation, Julianne was then booked into jail, and she was charged with second-degree murder in relation to her son Camden's death. She was also handed down the charge of being a fugitive from justice. When Julianne spoke with police, she told them that the reason why she had killed her son was because she wanted to kill herself as well, and she didn't think anyone in her family was capable of caring for the boy properly. So, not wanting him to go into the system, she decided the best choice would be to kill him and then herself. And in order to accomplish this, Julianne told police that she had planned on taking castor beans. Apparently, she had driven with Camden all the way from Texas to Maine, because Maine is one of the few places where you can legally buy castor beans, which contain ricin, a fatal poison. The mother also told authorities that she had used the long drive up to Maine to think about different ways to kill her son. So once in Maine, on May 12th, Julianne had stopped and picked up the castor beans. Her and Camden had then spent the night at the motel in Hampton Beach. Julianne then claimed that on the morning of May 14th, she had put the castor beans into her mouth and began chewing them, thinking this would end her life. But then, for some reason, she stopped. And even though she decided she was no longer going to kill herself, she decided she was still going to kill her son Camden. So she gave him a large dose of NyQuil so he wouldn't be lucid for what came next. After giving Camden the cold medicine, Julianne waited about an hour, and then she took all the hotel pillows and put them on the floor. She had then placed her son face down on the pillows, putting her hand over his mouth and then smothering him. And the pressure that Julianne had applied to Camden's body had actually been so great that it bruised one of his lungs along with the base of his skull. She additionally told police that while she was smothering her son, his arms and legs were flailing for a while, but then they finally stopped. Once all the life had been drained from her 6-year-old little boy, Julianne then picked up Camden and wrapped him up in his favorite green blankie and placed him in the back of the truck. She had chosen to do this in the very early morning hours so that nobody would see her. From there, the mother had driven along Route 4, eventually crossing back into Maine, though she had believed she was still in New Hampshire when she had drove down Dennett Road, which was where she had left Camden's body, in the woods about 30 feet away from the edge of the roadway, where she believed his body would not be discovered. And she may have been correct, had it not have been for Lisa Gove. Now, although Camden had last attended school on May 6th, he had not been reported as missing because his mother, Julianne, had continued to call in and tell them that he was sick with appendicitis and would not be in. So Julianne had gone out of her way to report Camden as absent, which meant that she was likely planning on returning back to Texas by herself. Friends and family of Julianne described the mother as loving but troubled, and said that she often had mood swings that prompted her to take lengthy road trips. She looked to be a loving mother on social media, too. She had multiple pictures posted of Camden on her Facebook, as well as a bunch of cute videos on her YouTube channel of him. Additionally, there were signs that Camden had been well cared for prior to his death. He had had clean hands and fingernails, and he did not appear to be malnourished. A friend of Julianne's even said that she could never have imagined her friend hurting her son Camden. She wasn't even violent. She was a passive person, the friend claimed. But after speaking with acquaintances of Julianne's, authorities had also been told that the mother had felt inconvenienced by having Camden in her life, so she had planned on returning back to Texas without him. Julianne had also spoken with her mother, Lou Ray, shortly after she had killed Camden, and Lou Ray said that everything had seemed normal. They had chatted about Texas and Julianne's older son, Ian, Julianne had even asked her mother out for a lunch date in a few days, back in Texas. According to Lou Ray, her daughter never let on that she was all the way in New Hampshire, and she had believed that Julianne and Camden were both in Texas when the calls had taken place. Julianne's mother, Lou Ray, said she had no idea why her daughter had killed her grandson, as she had never previously shown any signs of neglecting or abusing him. In fact, she said that Julianne had always been a great mother. And it wasn't just Julianne's family and friends that were shocked by what she had done. Camden's other grandmother, Shirley Miller, even said that she could not have seen this nightmare coming. Shirley said that while Julianne had had periods where she would get very angry, it was never with Camden. She had always been very patient and devoted to her son. The grandmother could not picture her as the kind of person that would not only kill her son, but also abandon him by the side of the road. It also came forward that Julianne had previously tried to kill herself with castor beans, prior to Camden's birth. Julianne had a little bit of a criminal history, but she had never been charged with any violent crimes. She had been charged for possession with intent to distribute, prostitution, and possession of a controlled substance. The mother, however, had no history of any mental illness. Then in November of 2011, Julianne McCreary pled guilty to second-degree murder. Her attorney said that he believed Julianne wanted to bring both herself and her son to heaven. She had told her lawyer, "I love my son very much. I know where he is. He is in heaven, and I want to go there as soon as possible." Julianne's attorney also said that an insanity defense had been considered, but his client had rejected it, as she had chosen to accept responsibility for her actions. And prior to Julianne's sentence being handed down, several of her family members spoke in court, including her mother, Lou Ray, her son Ian, and her brother Chris Hughes. All three would face Julianne in court and tell her that they loved her and missed her. They had also forgiven her for her crime. Julianne's older son Ian said to her, "I still love you a lot. You were always a great mother to me. It makes me sad that you will not see the greatness I will become in my life. I miss my brother, but I have forgiven you." That seems awfully fast to forgive somebody for something so atrocious, but that's just me. Several of Julianne's family members even made pleas to the judge to lessen her sentence so that she could spend time outside of the prison walls with her other son, Ian. Why you would even care if she could spend time with her other son, I have no idea. She already killed one of them. Probably shouldn't be around the other. And Julianne's brother, Chris, would say that he knew with every fiber in his body that his sister would take back what she had done if she could. The judge acknowledged that while she understood that Camden's mother, Julianne, was in pain from the loss of her son, in good conscience, she could not lower the sentence that she was about to hand down. Julianne was then given 45 years to life in a New Hampshire state prison. She was also ordered to complete any counseling prescribed by this system. She will be at least 87 years old before she is eligible for release. Lou Ray McCreary, Camden's grandmother, did not believe that her daughter had acted out of malice, but rather something inside her had just snapped. She also spoke about her grandson during the sentence hearing. She spoke about how special Camden was and how the library was his and Julianne's favorite place to be together because Camden just loved reading so much. She even stated that Camden could read at a third-grade level and was in a gifted student program at his kindergarten, thanks to his mother's persistent attempts to help him learn as much as he could. Then Julianne herself spoke about how sorry she was for the intense pain and suffering she had caused to her son Camden. She said, "He did nothing whatsoever to deserve that by my hand, and he was not an inconvenience to me. My sorrow is intense and unbearable." Should have thought about that before. She also cried and spoke about just how extraordinary her son Camden really was. Additionally, Julianne thanked the communities in Maine and New Hampshire for their outpouring of support for Camden. And she thanked Linda Gove, the woman, along with her family, who had originally found Camden's body on the side of the road that day. Near where Camden's body was found, people placed crosses, dozens of stuffed animals, candles, flowers, a baseball, and other children's items. A framed piece of paper said, "God bless this little boy." His funeral was then held on Saturday, May 28, 2011, at Calvary Baptist Church in Grand Prairie, Texas, where more than 100 people were in attendance. Linda Gove, who had found Camden's body, spoke during his funeral service, and in part, she said, Camden deserved the right to be loved, and maybe his life ended in such a tragic way, but you can see here he is very loved by all of you being here tonight. Camden's older brother Ian, who was a pallbearer, said to the crowd that Camden would not want them to be sad. He also said about his little brother, "He was the greatest thing that ever happened in my life. I loved him more than anything." Camden was then buried at the Grand Prairie Memorial Gardens.
Dozens bow their heads to remember a boy who remained nameless until now.
And they will have a moment of silence to honor Camden Pierce Hughes.
6-year-old Hughes' body was dumped in a remote area in South Berwick Saturday morning. For 5 days, investigators could not identify the boy until they got a break in the case. Tonight, at this candlelight vigil, the man who found the young child's corpse speaks publicly for the first time.
So even though he's not bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, I feel like he is. And we're so happy to accept him if they decide they don't want to accept him.
Applause erupted after the man spoke to this crowd of 300, all of whom came to pay their respects to the boy who no longer remains unknown.
I was kind of relieved, but then at the beginning, since day one, he's been considered family. So even though we know he has a family, he's still ours.
And this community is mourning Hughes' death as if he was theirs. Many laid flowers, teddy bears, and toys underneath a wreath bearing his name.
It was one of my favorite toys.
Why did you do that?
Because he's just a nice little boy. He didn't have to die so young.
But why Hughes had to die so young is just one of many questions which still haunts this community.
Why? There's no reason why. It's a child. Completely innocent child.
An innocent child who those here now know as Camden Pierce Hughes.
Thank God someone was looking out their window that morning. Thank God
And now maybe
people paid attention.
He can finally be put to rest properly, like he deserves.
Well, thank you for listening to Camden's story today. This story is very bizarre, with Camden's mother never giving any motive as to why she killed her son, and there was no warning signs even leading up to it. So was there any way that this tragedy could have even been prevented before it happened? It really makes me wonder too, was she ever planning on really killing herself, or was that just a cover story? She had driven all the way up to Maine just to get the castor beans in order to get rid of herself. So I'm guessing that was the original plan, but somehow along the way, things changed. Why she decided it was still a good idea to get rid of her son, I have no idea. Or maybe the entire time, the castor beans were just a cover story because she really wanted her son gone. So if you do like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on those notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is about 2 times every week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Also, if you haven't yet, go check out my new channel, Wicked Ways. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.